I'm just so delighted to be here, and I'm so thankful to you for having me and for the work that you guys are doing in the world. Truly incredible. I want to ask everybody to come up and take these seats, if you can. We're going to settle in now. I need the people who are standing back there to come and participate. We got two here, there's 3 here, there's a few over here. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Let's take a deep inhale and a full exhale. Deep inhale and a full exhale. Deep inhale and a full exhale. So much better. So much better. Please, if you have something in your hands, put them down. Empty your hands. Don't have anything in your lap. Place your feet flat on the ground. Sit up tall. And let's connect with each other a little bit. So much to say. So little time to do it. I'll give you my fullest energy. Please give me yours, okay? 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 Okay. Interactive. We're interactive here. Yes? Yes. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Addiction dismantles a human being at 4 levels: mind, body, spirit, and in our relationship with time. Anybody who's ever experienced addiction, raise your hands. Okay, let's do it again. Everybody put your hand up. Thank you. Are there still people in this day and age who think, honestly, you're not on the spectrum somewhere? In 2019, you could have still held out. No longer. Everyone's in recovery now. We may not use that language. You may not say, I'm Tommy, I'm an addict, I'm an alcoholic, I'm a person in recovery, I'm on a path of discovery, whatever it is. But there's nobody that gets out of here alive. Anybody who's experienced addiction, which is everybody, okay, understands what it is to be put under the weight of your mind. To have your mind master you. Now, it has been said that the mind is a terrible master, but the mind is an incredible servant. Our effort in recovery is, how can we train that mind to go from master to servant? Addiction will work on us because at the level of the mind, it creates story, and not the nicest stories. It creates craving. Craving can be felt in the mind. There is a mental component to craving. Yes? Okay. At the level of the body, well, the nervous system, the endocrine system. The endocrine system is the chemical system of the body, natural, intelligent, unbelievably intelligent, infinitely intelligent, the endocrine system of the body. God-given intelligence, divine intelligence running through the body, distributing the right chemicals to the right places in the right amounts at the right time. When that happens, you feel good. You feel regulated. You feel present. You feel ready to show up for life. When we tinker with the endocrine system by bringing drugs and alcohol in, and through other addictive behaviors, we are basically saying to this unbelievably intelligent system, thanks, but I got this. Why would we do that? Because we are uncomfortable. Because we are stressed. anxious, depressed, worried. When we feel those things, naturally, we reach out to the external world and we say, I need to do something about this. I'm uncomfortable in my own skin. And so we start to tinker. We start to find some solutions in the external world for this inner world problem. And for a little while, we feel relief. We feel relief. And the mind registers and the body registers. That brought me some relief. Let's try it again. Let's repeat the experiment. And this, of course, is the beginning of habit. And this is the seed of addiction. Not only is addiction working in the physical frame on the nervous system and the endocrine system, but it's working in the muscles, it's working in the brain. Our neurology is literally being changed through our experience of addiction. Yes? Say, I heard you, Tommy. And so, yes, of course, we know this is going on. Addiction is working on us at this level of mind and body, and then spiritually. What do I mean by that? Spirit is the spiritual aspect of life. Is not some theory. It's not something we people in California bandy about, like it's some, special thing that we understand but no one else does. The spiritual aspect of life is as real as this hand in front of my face, as real as our experience of this moment right now. Feel the spiritual experience. Sometimes we feel it as a longing. I have a longing to connect. I have a longing to feel love, to give love, and to be loved. I have a longing for purpose, purpose-filled existence. I have a longing to connect to something meaningful beyond just my own day-to-day, moment-to-moment attempts to make myself feel better. That my life has to stand for something more than just that, because I've been in that world and it isn't satisfying. It isn't enough to live for oneself. We all know this. So the spiritual aspect of life, this sense of accessing something greater than ourselves, it's not just, it's not only is it not theory, but if we ignore it, we can never find peace in this existence. We have to have it. Now, what does addiction do? It robs us of all that. Your longing will never be satisfied. You will be the hungry ghost that Gabor Mate wrote about. You will seek in the external world till the end of your life. And all you will ever know as happiness is the way you felt when you relieved a craving. Oh, I'm happy. Thank God I have my relief. That's all you will ever know. What a surface level happiness that is. Who would want to live that way? Nobody. Because deep in your being, you sense there's something more than that. So as we explore the way that addiction is working upon us, we have to understand this spiritual side is so critically important, because when you're stuck in addiction, you cannot realize the most important reason you're here. One of my favorite teachers, somebody who wrote, he's my favorite writer in the world of yoga. His name is Pandit Rajmani Tigunayat, and he runs the Himalayan Institute. He's very much alive, amazing human being, amazing teacher. He said, a human being is an island of excellence. When I read that sentence, it gave me pause. I recognize that when I stand in front of the mirror each morning, I don't necessarily think that about myself. I'm an island of excellence. And I certainly can look back in my past and say, wow, in my addictive years, I certainly didn't feel that way. He goes on to say, we're born to excel. Our life has to be evolutionary. Our life has to be evolutionary. By the way, your recovery. Who's in recovery? Raise your hand. Okay, let's do it again. Everybody put your hand up. Everybody put your hand up. Everybody just do the exercise. I see you. I see you're not putting your hand up. Thank you very much. Okay, good. Your recovery is evolutionary, or it isn't recovery at all. That's why Villa Kalima. We'll talk about that in a minute. He says the single greatest achievement that you can have, the single greatest achievement in this life is for you to recognize the divinity within you. This core, it's not a theory, because so many human beings have recognized it and felt it. It's not a theory. This is real. The single greatest achievement of your life. Recognize what you are. Divine. Pure light awareness in your true nature, with layers of trauma and memory and struggle and bad ideas and bad stories all laid on top of that. So our recovery is a reductive, it's subtractive. We can't add anything to ourselves. We're already perfect. We have to remove the things that block us from understanding what we are. And he says it's the single greatest tragedy to die without realizing it. Wow. That inspires me. That inspires me so much. I want to dedicate my whole life to it, to realizing that every single day of my life. Okay. So addiction works on us physically, mentally, spiritually, and then in this dimension of time. For the purposes of our time here today, I'll just quickly say that what I mean by that is that it's very difficult for us to be in the present moment when we're in addictive patterns. Does that make sense to you? Okay. So addiction plants us in two places in time space, the past and the future. Part of our recovery is going to have to be, how do we find our way back to the present moment? We have to do it. And if we don't do that, then we'll be in the mental loop of past, future, and what it feels like to the individual, to you, to me, to other people when we're not being conscious, to your clients. What it feels like is my entire life is based upon my memory of what was pleasing or displeasing. So all I do, my whole existence as a human being, is trying to recreate pleasure and avoid pain. I can only do that if I'm in the past. I'm only doing that because I'm accessing memory. What do we know about our memory? Is our memory accurate? 50% of what we think we remember didn't actually happen. This is science. This is what's coming down now. So based on information which is untrue, we're running our life. Recreate pleasure, avoid pain. Recreate pleasure, avoid pain. And that's the yo-yo all the time. Then you project out into the future. What happens if? Or if this, then that. If I get the job, the guy, the girl, the they, if I get the thing, the money, the toys, the approval, then I can finally relax. Has that ever worked for anybody? Oh my God, because you'll find something else not to relax about. Because you're in the addictive cycle. Okay. Because we know that addiction works on us at the level of mind, body, spirit, and time, you should no longer ask yourself why we're not doing a better job treating addiction. Because if you treat addiction physically, but you leave out the other three, your solution is incomplete. If you treat addiction psychologically, exclusively, or mostly, but you leave out one or two or the other three, incomplete. If you adopt a spiritual solution, like I did, 12 steps. The 12 steps, incredibly powerful system. Anybody have any experience with the 12 steps? Okay, some of us have. I had an unbelievably positive experience with the 12 steps. I'm so glad that they were in my life. And they gave me the one thing that I wanted, freedom from drugs and alcohol. And that's a miracle unto itself. Is that a complete system? Absolutely not. That doesn't mean I'm putting this system down. It just means it is something, and very powerful and very effective, and it's not something else. The 12 steps don't teach us how to calm the mind. They don't teach us the practices of the breath. They don't teach us how to manage stress in the body. They certainly don't teach us about our relationship with food. Okay. But it gives people freedom from their addictions. Hallelujah. Amazing. What a great first step. That's why Villa Kalima. We'll come to it in a minute. So, our response to addiction has to be holistic in nature. Raise your hand if you're a therapist and you work with people. Okay. Hello. You can only transmit something that you have. And so, if there's nothing else that I can do to inspire you today, then for you to understand the power of bringing a practice of yoga, meditation, and breath work into your life, that it will make your life better. And it will provide the missing elements, the vitamins and the minerals that are necessary for someone to have not abstinence, but freedom. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about freedom here. At first, it's okay to think, I need to put down the drugs and alcohol or the addictive behavior or choice. I need to put that down. Sure. That's the first step. You have to. You can't get free if you're still acting out addictively with substance and behavior. There's no way to get free. People come to me sometimes and they say, Tommy, can you help me? Well, first they'll say, do you think I'm an alcoholic? Do you think I'm an addict? And I know what they're really asking. Is there some way that you could say no to that question so that I could continue my drinking and my using? That's really what I need. And I say, well, if I say that you are an alcoholic or addict, which is not my job to do for anybody, then you're going to be like, oh my God, what does that mean? What am I going to have to do now? Oh my God, like my life's over as I knew it, Or so people come, and then they say, other people a little bit more direct, can you help me to drink a little bit? Can you help me to become a successful drinker? And I'll say something like, well, that's not a boast. That's your boast? I drank successfully. And so anybody who comes and asks that question, the answer is their heart and their soul are asking them to change. It's got nothing to do with me. The minute you think in your head, could I benefit from letting this go? The minute that question comes, the answer is yes. Of course you can. Otherwise, you wouldn't be thinking the question in the first place. All right. So please understand that it's my prayer, my greatest hope, that you will become even more powerful than you even already are as teachers, wisdom keepers, people who could stand in front of somebody and without saying a word, you could change their life, just with your love and your presence. That's my prayer for all of us. And what I have found is it's impossible to do without yoga. Now, some of you are thinking, this guy is out of his fucking mind. There's some people in the room. I'm getting that the thing. Right. Because you're thinking, you're going to tell me that I go down the street, spend $120 on a pair of Lululemon pants, spend $100 on a yoga mat, get on the yoga mat, and somehow that's going to work out my addictive issues? You're out of your mind. Let me explain a little further. You're thinking about yoga, the exercise. I am not speaking about yoga, the exercise. I am speaking about yoga, the life path. That's why Villa Kali Ma. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Okay? Yoga is the place where everything connects. Listen, listen, listen. Yoga is the place where everything comes together. The word itself means union. And it's the place where everything connects. Because that's true, follow me, there's nothing that's not yoga. Do you understand? Yes. From this perspective of it's the place where everything comes together and it's what's real, then there is nothing that's not yoga. Okay. Yoga is described in great detail in a number of different very powerful texts, which are quite ancient. And one of those texts is called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, written about 2,300 years ago. It literally was a series of 196 statements. 196 statements that would describe what yoga actually was. It described why you would want to do it. It described the path, and it described the state of being in the state of yoga. Only 3 out of the 196 statements had anything to do with any kind of physical movement. Isn't that interesting? In the very first sutra, it says, and now, yoga can begin. And now yoga can begin. What does it mean? It means now that you've stopped looking to the external world for the solution to your problems, now that you're ready to turn your gaze inside, now we got something for you. Now you can look in the right place. If you still want to muck around out here, and you want to put it to the test, and you want to try the next relationship, and you want to try more money, less money, you want to create some drama in the world, or take some drugs and alcohol, there's nothing out here that's going to do it for you. And the minute you realize that, you're jettisoned onto the life of yoga. And now the practice of yoga can begin. Wow. I've been looking in the wrong places. I didn't know. It's okay. I have to forgive myself right away. I didn't know. I did the best I could do. But now I'm ready to turn my gaze inward, and there's practices and teachers and teachings. This is why Villa Kali Ma. Because it is not a system that's built on the idea of, let's just get to abstinence. It's not a system that says, psychology, that's the name of the game here. It's not a system that says, we'll just treat the physical body, or how about we create a spiritual thing? No, it's a system that has brought together mind, body, and spirit, and it helps women find their way back to the present moment. It truly has been, I'm not being paid to say this. There was pizza, and that's no small thing. As a man in recovery, especially at my age, there are a lot of women that come with problems. I need a place to send them that's safe. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, especially in this day and age. Villa Kali Ma has been my go-to. If someone's fortunate enough to come to this program, it's very, very intimate. And it's holistic. And it's based in the practices and the principles of yoga. Yes, recovery, 12 steps, psychology, absolutely. All of it. Nature, equine therapy, CBD, DBT, all the T's, Yes. All of it. But it doesn't make the mistake of thinking that a human being can be compartmentalized out into these parts and then treated in such a way. And at the end of the day, the integration, the integrative part is called what? The integrative part is called what? What did you say? Yoga. The 12 steps is yoga. Here's yoga, the umbrella. The 12 steps are under there. It's a path that brings you from the dark into the light. It takes you from disconnection into connection. It takes you from having that sense of dis-ease towards greater ease. DJ, my dear friend, and I, we went to this Bikram class this morning here because we had an opportunity to jump into a yoga class, and we sweated it out in there at 120 degrees, for God's sakes, in the torture chamber. And it was just so lovely. Now that's the physical practice, but there's a mental piece to that. I came out of there and I felt at ease. I felt a little bit more aware, a little more clear. I really felt good in my body, you know? And I felt spiritually like, wow, I feel like there's a reason that I'm here. And today I'm going to connect with these beautiful people. And I mean, you really are. This is a room of VIPs to me because you people are in front of people. You're helping people who struggle in the same ways that I have. And this is so important for me to get in front of you and talk to you about the things that I've discovered in these 32 years. So this path of yoga, this life of yoga, you start to realize everything's got its place, everything's got its reason, and we move along a pathway to where we're no longer thinking that life is happening to us. And we elevate ourselves to this other place of life is happening for us. And that's a quantum leap. That's a quantum leap in understanding. Now, when you, as a therapist or counselor, if someone's in front of you and they show up in the victim energy, and you know what I mean, if you only knew what's happened to me, or the traumatized people that you deal with, the last thing we want someone who's traumatized to do is to stay in their trauma. We don't want to give someone permission to stay in their story and to stay in their trauma. Oh, we have to be loving and kind and considerate and understanding, and of course, but we have to help that person process through that trauma. Otherwise, the trauma that may have happened 10 years ago is going to dominate their reality for the rest of their life. Now, that's unnecessary. So in this discussion of trauma, we have to be very careful about stories that we tell and allowing our clients to have stories that are not based in truth anymore. That doesn't mean denying someone their experience. Please make sure you understand that. It means that when someone comes gripped in their story, our job is to help them get ungripped, to learn everything from the story, to process through, you have to speak about it. You speak about it. Talk therapy. I'm a big fan. It's important. So it's important that the story be told, but not that it be worn like a badge of courage. Not that that story be cemented into reality. This is who I am. I am my trauma. I am my addiction. Do you know what happened to me? Right? So when you come upon people like that, their in life has happened to me. And we need a set of tools, practices, principles that can elevate that person's thinking. The problem is what? The mind. The mind is dominating that person. And yes, there's physical elements, the leftover energy, we'll hear from Gabor in a little bit, about the leftover, the emotional residue of an event that took place before. We're still carrying that trauma. How do we let go of it? So to elevate to that next level of life is happening for me places us in the driver's seat of our life. And I truly believe that that's the the seeds of what's taking place here at Villa Kali Ma. Because they're starting these women out with a very, very holistic perspective that is being spoken about and that is also being felt in the body. One moment. Okay. Are you with me so far? The elevation of our consciousness from life is happening to me to life is happening for me takes place through the process of, thank you. And so to understand exactly what I mean by that, let's take a look at some of the behaviors that go along with life is happening to me. And hopefully everybody in here will relate to this. The two main behaviors of life is happening to me are blame and complaint. Blame and complaint. Yes? Do you understand? Okay. Who's responsible for this? Oh my God. There needs to be someone that I can blame for this, or at least I can complain it away. So we stay in that energy of blame and complaint. One of the greatest teachings I ever got from India, ever, was relent complaint. And then the teacher said, these were the exact words, never complain about anything ever again. Right? And I laughed. I laughed out loud at the teacher, you know. What an audacious thing to say. But could I do that? Could I do it? Could I stop complaining? And so I decided to take it on as a practice. Now that was maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago. I'd never heard it before, so that's when it came. I took it on, and I've done okay. What I notice is when I'm complaining, like almost always, I catch it right away. And I say, stop. Stop. And it's an incredibly powerful thing, and of course that's right in that's what yoga is the awareness in the moment of exactly what's going on, of your reactions to the present moment. When we get on the physical yoga mat, it's the same thing. I may get on a mat and, on that day, like I lean forward and I'm like, oh my God, my hamstrings, I can't touch my toes, but I want to. I'm upset that I'm not. And then a conversation begins. You should be further along than where you are. And then that conversation grows a bit. What's wrong with you? How are you not doing better than this? In 15 minutes, you could be in tears on your yoga mat. Your yoga is not the physical movement. Your yoga is recognizing what you do to yourself when you don't show up or the world doesn't behave the way you think it ought to behave. And you just have tight hamstrings and you've just canceled yourself off the planet. So this is what we mean by this expanded approach to yoga and recovery. So we have to start to notice, okay, what am I doing? I said recovery is evolutionary or it's not recovery at all. If at 15 years sober, you're doing and saying the same things you did at 2 years sober, I would simply encourage you to investigate that. Investigate that. Because there is a movement through this life of growing and becoming. So we elevate to this level of life is happening for me. We stop blaming. We stop complaining. If you can get your clients to even just pattern interrupt, let me just notice when I'm complaining and blaming somebody else, that opens up an unbelievable possibility for them. You will find your clients elevating through the process of yoga to this next consciousness. And now they're in the driver's seat. It's good news and bad news. You can't blame anybody anymore. You can't complain anymore. Now it's you. I asked my teacher a couple questions about my life. Yeah, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if I do this and this happens? Is that my fault? He said, oh my God, Tommy, no, you don't understand. Everything's your fault. Everything. Everything in your life is you. There's no one doing it to you anymore. Now, when you're children and somebody takes advantage of children, that's different. We're not talking about that. We're talking about us as adults and the ability to reflect upon these things, the ability to see what's going on in front of us, the ability to rise up above patterns that don't any longer serve us. That's what we're speaking about. And then up above that consciousness, up above life is happening for me, which is beautiful. Life is happening through me. Life is happening through me. That's when that beautiful collaboration with spirit is happening. That's when you feel in the flow. You feel employed in the best way, used, put to work in the best way. You know what I'm talking about? Of course you do. Because on your best days when you've sort of just shown up, you put yourself aside and you just showed up for your client and you saw a little light come on in their eyes, you were like, wow. And maybe in the back of your mind there was this thought, what if everything's okay? What if everything's actually okay? Fuck. I've been in such a story. But what if everything's okay? Okay. So look at addiction as being in a state of craving. I don't mean it like craving heroin, craving a drug, like that kind of abject craving. I mean something in your life that you're craving, moment to moment. The next piece of food, the next Netflix show, where is it? Here's the culprit. So, you're driving. That thing, no good. The next hit of dopamine. Who would you be if you weren't craving anything? Who would you be if you weren't chasing anything? But you dropped into your being, you really dropped into you. Who would you be then? What if you weren't seeking approval? You didn't want anything from the external world? What if somebody said, do you need anything? And you said, no, I don't need anything. I'm rooted in the power of my own presence. You would be able to experience a life beyond craving. That's freedom. From that freedom, you get to experience true contentment. Contentment. It's deep. It's so powerful. So we have to train ourselves to move beyond craving. I'll give you a little training now. Are you willing? Yes? Are you willing? Yes. Thank you. So you're going to need to sort of figure this out with your people next to you. I'd like you to take your right hand and rest it in your lap. I want you to sit up nice and tall. Again, put everything aside. And we're going to have a little experience. It's a yogic experience. And it's all about making ourselves strong enough to resist craving in a practice, to experience what comes up for us through craving, and then to feel the relief of having resisted it and watching the craving go away. Does that sound good? Okay. So the right hand, your right hand, just rests in your lap. Take your left hand like this. Sit up tall, feet flat. Notice how my left hand, the palm is straight up to the sky, as if I could hold a platter and it wouldn't fall out of my hand. Good. Now we just stay here for about 3 days. Good. So just take a deep inhale with me. And a full exhale. Good. And we just be here. We stay here long enough for this to become a problem for you. And the mind starts in. But I want you all to know that you just absolutely don't lower your arm. Absolutely not. Unless you have shoulder injury, that kind of thing, that's another thing, you can lower your arm then. Other than that, but if you have shoulder injury, just, have your arm right here. Good. And breathe deep. Now, at some point in this exercise, you start to feel a little bit of craving. What's the craving? Put my arm down. But you don't. Straighten the arm if you can. Perfectly straight at the elbow like mine. Yeah. Hold a platter on the palm. That's it, on the palm of the hand. Even press the base of the palm up to the sky. You'll feel a stretch across the elbow. You feel that? And your shoulder starts to speak to you. Is it true? Is it true? Say, yeah, it's true, Tommy. Yes, it's true. Yeah, right. And you just stay there. Yeah, just relax. Relax into the challenge of the moment. And just be willing to be in some discomfort. Just because. And on the other side of this is a beautiful reward. A beautiful reward. Because I can assure you that right now, chemical processes are taking place in your body. And a lot of energy called prana or life force is drawing itself up to that shoulder. Up through this arm. And you just stay there using the least amount of energy you need to, but staying in the posture. Yeah, we're getting there. We're moving along. The good thing about this is time always passes. I try not to tell people seriously how much time will be here in advance. Because if I do, the mind will use that. And it will make it harder for you. The pain on the challenge of this goes up only because you start thinking things like, well, I wonder how long we will be here. And look what he has me doing now. This is just, and the mind will start to tell you stories. This is stupid. Why are we doing this? Right? Keep your arms up, straight, that's it. Yeah. Keep the heart lifted. Just be here. It's okay. It's okay. The mind will tell you the next thing is going to come in. You could get nerve damage. Yeah, in fact, I feel it right now. I feel the nerve damage coming in. I can assure you nobody ever got nerve damage from this exercise. Take a deep inhale. Now just hold your breath. Just hold the breath. Very gently, without any drama, exhale and lower the arm. Palms face up. The right arm, the left hand is up. The right hand rests in the left. Now close your eyes. Deep inhale. And a full exhale. Become as still as you can. See if you can track the flow of energy through the body. See if you can lean into a sense of gratitude, just that we get to be here together in this moment, just as it is, without a need for anything to be different. All our needs are met in this moment. Feel that heightened energy on the left side of your chest, your shoulder, your arm, the hand, the forearm. Let it just flow. Take a deep inhale. And a full exhale. Okay, beautiful. Take the right hand up. Leave the left hand down. Hold your platter. Straighten the arm. And settle in. Deep inhale. And a full exhale. Now there's this beautiful thing that happens when you resolve to just do it. And you say, okay, I don't want to resist. And I'm just going to stay here. And I want to experience what it feels like to move beyond the craving of lowering the arm. Like, I'll just decide, I'll be here. I'll be here without any struggle. And when it's done, it will be done, and I'll have that experience at that time. But for now, just full power presence. That's it, just right here. You can be here with the heart lifted, with the eyes, just with a soft gaze. You can decide to close the eyes and focus up to the third eye point. Just keep the arms straight, and you're holding your platter in that right hand. And you're beginning to feel that enlivening of prana through the heart center, through the shoulder, and hopefully the release into it, that it's okay. The discomfort is okay, that I'm going to manage it and move through it and not resist it anymore. I'm going to blow through my own resistance and just become fully present with the decision that you've made to do this. That's it. You got it. You got it. We just go 1 minute together more. That's all. Straighten the arm. That's it. Palm facing the sky. That's it. And take a deep inhale. And very gently release this hand down. Exhaling. Right hand in the left palm. Just sitting tall, allowing the eyes to close. And just settle into the present moment. Just notice the sensation in the body. See if you can track the flow of prana, of energy. And let us take a deep inhale together. And a full exhale. Do you see how the room changed? Can you feel it? Presence. It's everything. And while we're doing this, you're probably not thinking too much about the money thing, the this thing, the that thing, but it's here, and it's here, and it's now. We drop in together. The community, it's so helpful, it's so beautiful. You can feel it, the room. So the opportunity exists to do practices, adopt philosophies, and have an approach, a very broad and comprehensive approach to recovery from addiction, recovery from trauma, which to me is the same thing. A broad approach to yoga, understanding yoga is not just this exercise. It's the mind. It's our subconscious reactivity to things. When we speak in yoga about bringing the darkness to the light, we're talking about bringing the subconscious to conscious so that we can work on it, process it, and move through and be free. This is the idea. That's what happens here. And I'd like to spend just a few minutes, because I have a few minutes more, I'd like to ask for questions about any aspect of recovery, yoga, food, relationship, spirituality, meditation, breath work. Any aspect, anything that's on your mind, anything that brought up a question from something that I shared today. Please. We'll just pass the mic over. That's great.
What did you mean by time?
By
time. You said body, mind, spirit, and time.
yes, the time aspect of it had to do with finding the present moment, what we just did here, rather than being stuck in the past and the future, which is really a hallmark side effect of addiction. Addicts are always trying to predict. All we have to do is look on the bottle to tell us how we're going to feel. We want to recreate a feeling over and over again. There's no spontaneity there. There's no evolution there. There's a true stuckness. So all addiction could be looked at as just simply stuckness. All disease comes from constipation in one form or another. Whether that's constipation of the bowels, constipation of the blood, constipation of the mind, constipation of the energy channels. This is where it's all coming from. So we're looking for flow and movement of energy. And one beautiful definition of a yogi that I love is a yogi is someone who's mastered the movement of prana through the body. Life force. Okay? Thank you for your question.
What would you say to somebody who does not reference any kind of trauma in his years of addiction, but references more to being selfish and also somebody who has like the disease, right? Mm-hmm. So they are one of those incurable type
I
of,
see.
yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm just curious because
Incredible question. Thank you so much. So the disease model of addiction, if you adopt that, there's no cure. It's something that at best you can manage for a lifetime. You'll manage the symptoms of the disease. One of the really unfortunate side effects of calling something a disease in our society is that it sets the pharmaceutical companies loose on trying to find their solution to that disease, which is to say a pharmacological solution to addiction, which is ridiculous, completely and utterly. Now, that doesn't mean there's not a place for medication in our world. Of course there is. So everybody heard that, I hope. But to base an approach to recovery from addiction on a pharmacological approach is really problematic. The person who's stuck in that concept has to be dashed upon the rocks as the untruth that it is. I like to break up the word disease into two words, dis and ease. And I say to a person, you're at a distance from ease. And all we want to do is move you closer to a sense of ease that's come upon naturally by the return to the proper functioning of your nervous system and your endocrine system. We do that through exercise. We do that through yoga, breath work, meditation, proper relationship with food, immersions in nature, community and communication amongst a group of peers. But the core belief system is, I'm a victim. I've got a disease. And so it needs to be pointed out to this person over and over again that their languaging is incorrect. Now, many people, especially in the therapeutic world, we're all in this debate of, do you meet people where they're at? Or do you set a bar for a person to be able to reach to? It's a really interesting debate. I don't think there's one or another. It's kind of on a case-by-case basis. We want to be effective with the person who's in front of us. Some of them, if we meet them where they're at, they're never going to be anywhere else. And some of them need just an incremental, hey, reach for this. Reach for this. An example just from this morning, the yoga teacher said this morning, he's like, we went to a 90-minute yoga class. He goes, this is one of the only 90-minute yoga classes left anymore. They're 60 minutes, they're 45 minutes, 30 minutes. Now, when I practiced yoga, it was 90 minutes to 2 hours. Why? Because that's what it took to work the entire body, to get the nervous system aligned, to break us away from our default mechanism of fear, stress, depression, anger, worry, blah, blah, blah. But now it's like, his words were, well, we just have to meet people where they're at. People now need to do 60-minute yoga classes. And I'm like, well, I understand why. But the 90-minute yoga class is the antidote to this. If I told you that focus and concentration are important in this world, would you agree with me? Okay. Yes, everybody agrees with that? Okay. Well, we've created something that destroys that. I mean, completely destroys it. There's no one that can argue that. So two of the most important things we could develop on a daily basis through dopamine addiction and all the rest of it that goes along with this thing, we're killing our capacity to focus and to concentrate. So if you're going to use one of these, and we all do, you're going to need a process that's going to balance out what's happening there. And so challenge yourself to get into these longer form experiences. One of the longer form experiences is not to just write a blog. Well, I wrote 200 words today. Well, that's because that's all our mind now can handle. Sit down for 2 hours and write, and don't stop. Train your mind for these longer form experiences. Go deeper, and create the antidote protocol to losing your focus and concentration. These are some things that I would say. Yeah.
To that, and that is that it's what I think the fear keeps him sober. So he's been sober for 20 years.
Okay.
So the fear of that it is a disease and there's no cure.
Right. So here's the thing. That is a story. He's been trained into that story. Let me tell you something. This is really important. You guys still with me for another couple minutes? I know we've done a lot. Almost done here, okay? And then you're going to listen to the incredible Gabor. I adopted the belief system of the 12 steps and the people that I was around in 12-step communities. They told me, you have to always call yourself an addict. You have to always come to meetings. And you're going to have to always help people here in this context. And if you don't do those things, you're not going to make it. Now, That's not true. That's simply untrue. But for a while, it was important for me to adopt that belief system, although it wasn't absolutely true. It served me for a period of time. Recovery is evolutionary, or it's not recovery at all. This person is 20 years in doing the same thing, still fearful of the same things, hasn't transcended those core fears of, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back. Now, at what point in anyone's recovery does fear turn into love? I'm no longer staying sober because I'm frightened of what will happen if I don't. I'm staying sober because of the life that I get to live and the love that is here. And I want to preserve and build upon that to where it will go. This person needs to be inspired out of a story that no longer serves him. And he needs to see it. And he needs examples of victory, of other people who have done what I'm describing, because he's had examples of people in 12-step programs who have stayed stuck in many ways. They got liberated from drugs and alcohol, but they didn't get to that thing called freedom. And they're still frightened today. Do you understand? So for a while, it was important for me to be afraid. Very, very important for me to remember how horrible it was and how stuck I was. But with the practices of yoga and very wise teachers who helped me a lot, I was able to turn that fear into a new thing called love. And then to be in love with life, and I fell in love, you know? And so no longer, it's such a difficult thing because it's a story that's so deeply embedded in us. And when I left that story, everyone around me was like, you are going to relapse. You are in trouble. You're headed for it. Because I was suffering at the time. Because I needed the next thing. But nobody had the next thing. And they were all like, you're not going to make it. And I was like, I don't want to use drugs and alcohol. I don't. But I'm not happy. And I need to find another thing. And it set me out on a path that became Recovery 2.0. And then I get to connect with people like Kay and people like Ashley and their crew. And all together, there's a big, big movement I want you guys to know. And I hope you feel like you're a part of it and that you're excited to be a part of it. There is an old school of recovery that doesn't serve today because the call of the hour is different now. In 1939, we needed certain things. They didn't know any of the stuff that we know today. Now the call of the hour is different, and you are answering the call of the hour. God bless you. Thank you for being here today with me.